All right. Well, I know everybody's busy. George, if you're ready, we're going to kick this thing off. Yeah. So thanks everyone, and good afternoon. Thanks for being here. I'm Glenn Hansen. I'm the editor of OPE Plus. Thank you again for joining us today, for making time. I know you're busy. There's a lot going on in your dealerships and in your world. So thanks for letting us help you stay focused with some useful info. And useful info and real world strategies for winning local customers and standing your ground against the big box stores down the street. I know my local dealer's got a Lowe's just down the road, and it's a constant discussion when I'm over there talking to him. But we're going to show you how e-commerce is not just a buzzword. It's a practical tool, and it can actually help you move inventory and strengthen your dealership's reputation. I'm joined today by my friend George Houle. George is territory manager at Dealer Spike in the e-catalog division. And I've known George for a few years, and the thing I like most about George is he understands dealers because he's into it and he lives it. He's a power equipment and power sports enthusiast, and he really cares about helping dealers do better business. He's here to share steps today, steps that you can use no matter your level of technical knowledge. So, George Houle, let's take it away.
Thanks, Glenn. All right. So, winning locally with e-commerce. How e-commerce helps dealerships compete like the big box stores, which is exactly what Glenn hit on. There's going to be basically the agenda today is going to be three major areas broken down over a couple different segments. And number one is going to be, most importantly, what's challenging the dealers. What are you doing with your website to turn it into that digital storefront? Those steps that need to be taken to do that. And what are the key solutions that can level that playing field? And then we'll have a question and answer session at the end of this. So what are the challenges at the dealership level? What are the things that dealerships are experiencing? And what are the things that's keeping the e-commerce needle from moving more? Your local customers, and even customers outside of the local area, we'll call it, they want the big box convenience aspect. They're expecting to be able to shop online at any time, anywhere, any hour, and be able to find what they're looking for quickly. But most importantly, do you have it? That's the biggest thing. Your website really needs to address those key areas and match that expectation. Most importantly, one of the things we get asked all the time of, how do we start? We do word of mouth. Online, is a bigger challenge than what it's worth, things of that nature. Those are some of the objections and some of the most pertinent questions we get asked on a daily basis when it comes to this sort of stuff. How many of you currently right now are doing online business and or have e-commerce set up with your store? We've got a poll. People should be able to answer that, those questions there. So we'll take a second to get the poll going and see some responses.
And I think, George, right, this question would apply if you're a lot of them are selling with in-store pickup,
Correct.
less frequently with ship to home, but that's relevant as well. So,
Yep, correct. So the big thing with turning your website into that digital storefront, there's going to be 3 key steps there for that. And with those 3 key steps, within those steps, you've got really the move beyond the basic digital brochure, right? So obviously putting all of the key information about those units and the digital brochure to the website is obviously very important, right? But the step 2, the biggest side of it is, winning the local customers with the whole goods. And then really step 3 is selling online without the shipping issues. That's the biggest thing. So when you turn your website into this digital storefront, those are the 3 key things that are required to move the needle for e-commerce. And what I mean by these 3 different steps is I'll hit on step 1 here is moving beyond the digital brochure. So showing address, hours, and parts availability. When you don't do that stuff, those are missed sales opportunities. Another key thing is starting with the basics. You want something that's easy to navigate. It needs to be fully responsive. As we know within our industry, everybody's shopping online on their phones. Everybody is doing the research online on their phones. That statistic only seems to grow more and more every day and every year with the digital path to purchase, we call it. The other thing is your physical in-store experience. What does that look like with your inventory and displays? Having properly displayed inventory, organized, clean, by segment, by brand, shows furthermore what you're willing to do versus some of the other big box stores or bigger stores in general where there's just stuff kind of smattered all over the place, and it can be sometimes rather difficult to find not only what you're looking for, but somebody that knows about what it is you are looking for information on. We've all had to deal with somebody who had to go to somebody who had to go somebody in a store to get an answer on something. Another key area that dealerships can capitalize on digitally is during your slower season. We're seeing a little bit of a cycle where the slow season is becoming less and less and less, where there's more of a narrowed focus now on transitioning quickly and faster. So taking the time during some of the slower off season is a great time to refresh your website, make updates, change the layout, or change over the digital brochures of the product, and continue to do that and refresh and revamp so that every time somebody comes to the site, it's a little bit of a different experience either each time, which really leads me to the last point of the consistent improvements will create big results over time. And what I mean by that is if you're constantly changing up the look and the feel, it engages customers every time to where, they'll want to dig more deep, and they'll also be thrilled that they're making those changes or that you're changing the site as a whole in general. Step 2 of the 3-step process is, win local with your whole goods. And what we really mean by that is appeal to your local shopper that wants to support the small business. That is really key. Buying from reputable individuals, a reputable dealership, a reputable name is why customers come back repeatedly over and over and over again. The big box stores, it's different people every time, different procedures, different layouts. It can be sometimes very frustrating. Locally, when you are taking the time to learn who's shopping with you, even if they've been a long time customer. Knowing more and more and more about them every time creates a better relationship. The next area is pairing your e-commerce with the strength of who you are. Expertise and service. You're the local dealer that's been there. You're the local dealer that knows the lines in and out, that knows the parts, that knows the warranties and situations, that knows the process within the OEM. That's very, very, very important. You pair that to the strength of that. This way, you are the local expert. Nobody else knows more than you. Obviously, AI is going to be a hot topic, and it's only going to continue to grow within our industry. So the big thing there is going to be product descriptions, automatic brochure updates, product drops, releases, things of that nature. AI is only going to continue to further that and move the ball in that direction. AI still needs a human to use it, and it still is going to have that human element to it, but it's definitely changing the scope, not only how we shop, but how we find things. And this is going to be a growing trend within our industry. I don't see it going away anytime soon. That's for sure. And the other thing, which I think is very important, is the customers also bought. The feature drives additional sales and accessories, oils, lubricants, repair parts, other items that go together with that particular unit. They do two things for your dealership. Number one is increase line items per ticket at the purchase level, at the parts counter, service counter, and or when the unit's bought, profitability, margin of markup, etc. But also, too, there's nothing worse than buying a piece of equipment, going home, and then going, "Oh, I needed this, this, and this." There is no worse feeling than that. Customers are coming to you at that dealership level, at the brick and mortar, because you're the expert. So when you're pairing those things together, it once again further enhances you being the local expert, but you also caring about the consumer and the customer so that they're sent home with everything that they need, and it's a good, smooth experience. The third part, selling online without headaches. I know there's going to be some groans and grumbles here. In-store pickup, buying online, picking up in the store. It's one thing that COVID taught us, and it's one thing that is not going to change. And it's the concept that you can do everything in one shot, in one single purchase, making it easy for you, but most importantly, making it incredibly simple for the consumer, the end user. Customers buying online, they can pick up right at your dealership. You'll have everything that you need, paperwork. They come in, they sign, you send them on their way, and it's just that smooth. The face-to-face pickup is important because it creates the upselling opportunity. This goes back to additional items needed. Did you know that there's these accessories available, or did you see this striping kit for this deck, or you're going to need an extra bottle of this particular oil, and here's an extra air filter, you'll need it right away. It's creating an opportunity for you to provide more product knowledge, but then once again also reiterating why they bought from you, why they made that digital path to purchase from you. And most importantly, it's the shipping costs. Obviously, there's no shipping costs involved on that side of it. There's no logistics, there's no liftgate services, none of that. It's simple and it's clean. And most importantly, efficient. That's one of the biggest things, is efficiency. So finding the right e-commerce solution, what does that look like? What do you look for? What's out there? What's available? A lot of those questions. There's a checklist that we've built out here for e-commerce and what I would say is a pathway to success for it. So most importantly, integration with the website and other systems. And what I mean by that is DMS systems, dealer management systems, business management systems. Software integration is very key and very vital to that, so that when you're pushing inventory, it's moving within your system, but then also going live on the website right away and being there as soon as you have it and check it in. Security is a big thing, obviously. So user-friendly payment portals for easy checkout. That's another one. It needs to be quick, simple, and easy. But most importantly, it needs to feel secure and be secure. That's the biggest thing. I had a buddy that bought a zero turn, and he did it over the phone with a debit card because he was absolutely convinced he couldn't do it online. And when I explained to him he could, he sent me back an eye rolled emoji with a thumbs up. So there's hope. We'll put it to you that way. But most importantly, inventory management tools. What I mean by that is your inventory being pushed is incredibly simple now for one single person at your dealership or multiple people at the dealership that are doing it. There's not a whole lot of technical expertise that's needed or required at that stage. It's as simple as checking it in, uploading it, and pushing it. That's the biggest thing. Make it simple for everybody. A lot of dealerships have got multiple people wearing multiple hats, and multiple people have got multiple jobs, tasks, and responsibilities throughout the dealership. And that's always something that's going to be the norm within outdoor power equipment and power sports as a whole. Another thing is flexible in-store pickup options that support that upselling capability of dedicated pickup times. When would you like to pick it up? Between 1 and 1:30, or does 2 and 3 work better? Being flexible and having those in-store pickup options that support that allow the customer to feel very much in control of that. But then also it's allowing you to put together the upsell side of it and getting everything ready and prepared. So this way, when they are there, you know exactly who they are, what they're picking up, and it's ready to go. Make it incredibly simple. Turn and burn is really kind of what we call that. And lastly, specifically, the right e-commerce solution will be designed specifically for the needs of our industry, the outdoor power equipment industry as a whole. We work with many OEMs and manufacturers specifically, with this to make sure that features, benefits, specifications, latest model unit information, and pictures are all up to date, current, and correct on the website. There's nothing worse than the wrong information being out there. Really, results. So the results that are going to come from this when done are really generally going to, you'll see a real uptick in this. And what I mean by that is when you have things such as these features, such as the DMS integration, inventory showrooms, and these advanced searches, these three things here will not only increase engagement at the customer level, but also within the online sales spectrum as well. So as you have those things built in, it's more engaging for customers to do it. And one of the real world successes we've got is Stark Street Lawn and Garden. They've capitalized on e-commerce from the very beginning, and they have not let off the gas with it. And they certainly don't intend to either. So we can open it up for questions.
Hey, George, there's one in here that oh, okay, great. Andrea just got back to me. Andrea asked how to keep the inventory up to date and syncing with the inventory management system they're already using, which she said is SoftBiz C system. So can you talk about that parts? I mean, I get the question. It's
Sure.
It's a lot.
Yeah. So really with the integration with SoftBiz and many of the other DMS systems that we have out there, there's a queue that can be run to push that inventory. So the most important thing to do is find out and make sure that that queue and those requests for pushing that inventory is done, nightly, hourly, by the minute,
Hmm.
syncing that with the website and then the DMS platform that you have. Some DMSs only do it once every 24 hours, some do it instantaneously. It depends on what those settings are and what that looks like within the DMS that you're using.
Okay, but so it's just knowing the settings,
Mm-hmm.
spending a little time.
Yep,
Of course, there's, I'm sure, notifications on and off and different sort of
correct.
push that you can get. Right. Okay. Um, Great. Thanks. Jimmy Massey asked about Clover, about payment systems. Can you talk about payment systems a little bit?
Sure. So with the e-commerce platform, we've got integration with a lot of different payment gateways and a lot of different payment platforms and systems. So Clover is definitely one that can be utilized and integrated. Absolutely. We have some dealerships that are using it, as well as PayPal, WooCommerce, BigCommerce,
Hmm.
Shopatron, Shopify, Visa, MasterCard. The list is pretty endless.
Okay. And Jimmy asked a little clarifying question related to the parts inventory connections. Can Dealer Spike communicate with C systems? So that's what we're talking about here.
Yep, absolutely. Yep.
Okay,
So there's
great.
there's integration there on the website side as well as within the PartSmart platform as well for that. Correct. Yep.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay. Um, I got a question too, and I think about this a lot. My local dealer that I love to refer to. I've been over there a number of times, and sometimes if I'm there in the morning, the owner is out in the parking lot taking pictures of equipment that just came in, or maybe
Mhm.
it's a trade-in, and that's gets to that content management structure. It can take a lot of time. How do you help dealers manage that?
Yeah. So with the mobile app that we have, that's the biggest thing is taking a picture, uploading it digitally. It happens live. It's right there.
Okay.
That's number one. The other thing that I've experienced and I've seen from when I worked at the dealership is dedicating time to just that, to managing it and doing it as quickly as possible. When you let it stack up and pile up, that starts that chain, right? So some dealerships will accept, one piece of inventory and then mark it as 20. They know they can order it, etc. I think it's more wise to mark it as soon as you get it, upload it using the mobile app, and then handling it from there at that point and just pushing it. Once you're on top of it, it just becomes part of the routine.
Okay. And it's that thing, it's like, oh, not another app, but when they're really helpful, you're glad to have another app, right? So that's cool.
Right. Yeah, correct. And the new mobile 360 app is linked with digital brochures. So not only is the unit there, picture of the unit, specs, features, all of that, but then also if you wanted to take a picture of that unit, in the crate or with the cardboard cover off, so someone could actually physically see it, there's that option as well.
Okay. Um, Shifting gears a little bit, Seamus typed in a question about taxes.
Mhm.
And I assume he's in Canada, but we have tax changes county to county,
Yep.
of course, everywhere. So how does your system deal with that?
Yeah. So the shopping cart that people get set up with and the payment processors will have that built into it. So you'll be able to set that up per zip code, county, etc., and manage that on the back end. That's the nice thing with the integration that we've got with those different payment processes and processors actually is that right there is being able to manage it that way.
Okay. Um, lot of questions. This is great. What you talked a little bit about AI, but
Mhm.
any more to say there? I mean, that changes every minute of the day. But
Right.
do you have
What
any help with that?
Yeah, so what we're seeing with AI is being driven by the intended use of AI. What's what's the intended use of it, and how is somebody going to be using it? As I mentioned, it's not going to go away. It's only going to continue to further advance and become better and better, like it has been every single day. So people are utilizing AI to find things, to find information. So when you're already putting that information out there, the specs, the features, the benefits, and the content from the OEM and the brochure data, it's going to further enhance that search to pull that result. That's really how it goes. And if you've used, Google's version of AI, Gemini, you can dive deeper into each different layer of AI, and
Right.
then you can see more results that way as well. So we've utilized it. It's available. We know it's not going away, and it's been the hot topic for over a year now within our industry. And Glenn, you and I were together in North Carolina at the OPE Summit and Forum, and that was one of the biggest things that was talked about
Yeah.
was AI and how it's going to shape websites and how people search for things. I kind of think of it as Google on steroids. That's
Yeah.
kind of how I view it and how I utilize AI.
Right. Right. All right. Well, there will be a continuing discussion around that. Um, George, you want to talk about cost a little bit? How's your system? How's your structure
Mhm.
set up to help dealers at different levels and at their different budget levels?
Yeah, and so we offer different website packages with different options and features at different price points, for what dealerships are looking to do. And then we compare those items, options, and picks to meet what it is that you're looking to do. Are you looking to move the needle on SEO and SEM and go all in on it? Or are you more looking for targeted email and automation so that if somebody's looking at a piece of equipment, it then blasts them an email saying, hey, we saw you were looking at this, click here to find out more. Or are you still interested? That targeted automated email system and platform is really the future, I believe, on the e-commerce side. And we've seen a lot of growth with it within power sports, and that'll trickle down into
Hmm.
outdoor power equipment without a doubt.
Okay. Um, yeah, that I want to come back to that. But um, Lars asked,
Mhm.
does Dealer Spike offer real-time website product updates from suppliers' live inventory feeds?
So we do not have access at that OEM level to see if Aaron's Gravely is sitting on 50 plus zero turns of a certain model. We don't have that. We don't have that visibility. So what some dealerships will do is they'll set it to call for price or call us for availability, because availability can change within a second at the OEM level or even within the dealership. There could be a piece of equipment that another dealership might be able to dealer trade to go get that somebody inquired in an hour ago. So with that being so fluid, it's really difficult for us to know exactly, what's out there from the OEM. However, what you have on hand in your inventory. So making sure that that's up to date is very vital and very key.
Right. Okay. I got another question, George, and this comes from so many dealers I've talked to over the last couple of years. Many of whom, I don't know if they're a science man, but many of whom are reluctant to really get into e-commerce because they fear that it limits their ability to form personal relationships with customers. They
Mm-hmm,
want customers coming in. Can you talk a little
mm-hmm,
bit about that? How can you be all about e-commerce but still
mm-hmm.
enable relationships with people?
Yeah, and so Glenn, that's a great point, and I'll actually bring up my personal situation. I ended up buying a motorcycle from a dealership out of state. And I did everything digitally, I did everything electronically, never stepped foot in the dealership. However, I know exactly where they are. And when I ride in that area, I stop in and I pick the stuff up that I need from them. So there is that ability to build that relationship. And if you communicate to your customer of, hey, we understand you're buying this online. We're here for all of your needs. Call us, stop in, come see us. When you make yourself available to that customer, that's the biggest tipping point, because I can go 10, 15 minutes down the road to a local dealer or catch the guy that's out of state on my way out there. And I know where I'm going to stop every time. So when you have those relationships and, yes, you're going to have some people that will only buy from you online, but you can still create those relationships through phone calls, text messages, perhaps emails, things of that nature. So there's a way to forge those relationships, but making yourself available and letting the consumer know that the relationship doesn't end at just the unit, because there's parts that are needed and other things, services, stuff of that nature.
Yeah, and I mean, it's obviously any business owner's choice what they want to
Mm-hmm.
offer
Mm-hmm.
online for sale or not. But
Right.
the title of this webinar again is how can e-commerce help
Right.
independent dealers compete with and against big box stores?
Yeah.
And I follow what Lowe's and Home Depot are doing, and they
Right.
continue to talk about quarter after quarter when they release their financial statements. Quarter after quarter, they talk about the increase in e-commerce sales. So
Mm-hmm.
this is not, yeah, it's just reality, right? I mean,
Yep. Yeah.
still, I mean, still, retail in general is done in person.
Yeah.
The majority of retail in general today across categories is done in person, but it's trending toward e-commerce. So yeah, do what you need to with that. But
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think you could make the argument, right, of, what is it costing you by not doing it? And I think
right.
that's we're at that stage in outdoor power equipment where if you don't do it, somebody
Yep.
else will, and
Yep.
somebody else will do it bigger, and they'll take the risk and they'll do it and they'll capitalize on it, and it will work out for them inevitably because they'll be the one doing it. And that's the biggest thing. And also, this goes back to what Tony and I talk a lot about, which is your digital open sign. Your website is a 24/7, 365 storefront. The sign is always open, it's always on, it doesn't have hours. Your website doesn't turn itself off at 5 p.m. because you flipped the open switch to closed. It's on
Right.
all the time.
Yep.
So somebody in a different area, a different county, different, zip code, state, whatever, can see, hey, holy smokes, this piece of equipment is 200 miles away. I'm willing to drive to go get it. They got it. I'm buying it online right now. I'll schedule pickup for Saturday morning. It's Thursday night.
Yeah, and that's, it's the hours of operation is one of the biggest advantages that the big box stores have.
Absolutely.
So be open with e-commerce and
Yes.
provide that convenience.
Right.
I want to get to Gary's question here. He talks about checking but it gets to a bigger question about how do you make sure that the customer, when they're buying a part online, that they're buying
Mhm.
not only the right one, but the best one, maybe in an upsell opportunity. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So the big thing there is going to be obviously product knowledge and expertise, right? Your dealership is just that, whereas the big box stores are not. So when you have those things that of at the dealership level of, hey, this pulley's okay, but this one's better, and somebody does buy that part, it's picking up the phone or sending an email or calling them and letting them know, hey, this part's available, it's better. Do you want it? Yes or no? That goes back to a customer experience. That goes back to you being the product expert. The sites, the e-commerce platform as a tool is there for you to level that playing field, but knowing those things is what separates you. It's the brand differentiator. It's why many people go to the local dealer, because they know if they go in there, they're not going to get just sold something that they didn't need, or that it's wrong. They know it's going to be correct. That's very vital.
Right. Right. Okay. Yeah, that's can be a challenge with a lot of replacement parts in particular.
Right.
Getting the right stuff. So
Yeah. And one of the big things internally that dealerships use to combat that and to level that playing field is dealerships using our PartSmart program for behind the parts counter. They're utilizing that to see kitted parts options, updated parts, super sessions, things of that nature on our e-commerce websites with our parts diagrams, schematics, breakdowns, and our IPLs. Things like super sessions are all there and broken down with revision history. So it's always important, to keep that up to date, but then also to, make customers aware of, hey, this part does supersede, you're going to get the right one.
okay. I want to get to Andrea's question from a couple minutes ago. She talked about parts inventory updates. It's going to update. You talk about this, George. Answer, help me with this. Does it update the info as well as photos? How do you get that to be optimized so that it's the right photo all the time? I mean, with the info.
Sure. So the photos and the stock images that we're supplying and or getting are coming from the OEM. So
Okay.
a lot of them are physically doing it in a professional photo environment. They're setting up the white rooms for that, to do that and take those pictures. And as we secure those and get those, we then publish them. We don't have a photography department that does it. I wish we did. It'd be awesome. But we rely on the OEMs to get us that data. And a lot of them are really, really pushing that and doing it so that you can physically see, okay, this is the pulley, flip it. This is what it looks like. Oh, here's the width of it. It makes sense. You can line it up. So as more and more OEMs do that and get on board with doing that, you'll see that trickle in and trickle down into our various platforms within PartSmart, but then also to online within our parts lookup module for our e-commerce websites.
Okay. And that's a standard feature. This is kind of the,
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Correct. Yep. So some of the OEMs and aftermarket distributors like Stens in Oregon, they do that. MTD Cub Cadet does it as well. And they're doing it more and more and more on their parts. So they're keeping up on it and doing it because they realize that there's a real need for that.
Okay. Can you talk about a little bit about the kind of the process and the timing for getting a dealer set up with e-commerce? Is it months of work, or is it a couple days? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So when a dealership signs up for a website and we move it to the e-commerce environment, number one is going to be the availability of how quickly you work with our team and our team works back with you to do that, to set that up. So the big thing there is making sure you're available to do it. We've seen sites get spun up as quickly as a week or less than. So it's a very quick turnaround, can be a very quick turnaround. If more changes are needed or more customization is involved, then it can lengthen the process a little bit. But we fully intend to spin up sites as quickly as possible.
Okay. And that might vary on how many OEMs they work with, or how, right?
Yep.
Or different
Correct.
Locations,
Yeah, correct.
Variables.
We generally shoot for a week to 3 week window is really, the turnaround time of how quickly we can spin one up.
Okay. What are you seeing that is necessary, kind of from a bare minimum features on a website, compared to what thinking about, okay, what do the big box store guys have, right? I mean, I'm sure you probably reference you look at what the world is doing and you see what do dealers need to do. You talk a little bit about kind of web features that are
Mhm.
foundational or table stakes, as the kids like to say
Mhm.
today.
Yeah, I think three major features of any successful e-commerce platform. Number one has got to be ease of use to navigate. That's a big one. Buttons are all in the right spot, layout, color. Most importantly, responsive, so it works on a mobile phone. Simple, easy to use, drop down menus, hierarchy for year, make, model. That's very important. And then really pushing that on the social media feeds. That's a big thing, letting your customers know that you've got an e-commerce environment. That's big. But just making sure that it's responsive really levels the playing field, and that it's simple to use. And then secondary would be who you are, your location, phone number, all of that pertinent information. It seems so basic, but there's a lot of websites I see where I have to go to Google to find out their hours because that's not listed on their website. So there's some out there where it's like, holy smokes.
Hmm. Yeah. Um, what about the call for price language on a website, where or just I don't know, as a shopper, gosh, I don't love to see it. I want to know the price, and does the
Mhm.
dealer really want another phone call? Are people going to call? Can you talk about that a little bit? What have you found out?
Yeah. So it kind of goes into two schools of thought on that. Some dealerships will do call for price because of rebates. That's one of the biggest things,
Okay.
is what is the live current price on the rebate side, or what can the dealer do on it? What's the promotion? Is there an APR promotion? Is there a financing option? There's a lot of variables that go into that. Some of the other dealerships that I know will put the hard MSRP up there with tax, title, and doc, and they'll disclose everything into one formatted field to where it'll say total price,
Hmm.
OTD out the door. So it's knowing your market, and it's knowing what you're comfortable with. Some dealerships will put MSRP up and then call for price. So it's the best of both worlds,
Hmm.
where others have just put call for price and that's it. And they've done it on their bigger ticketed items, whereas lower ticketed items or faster moving units, blowers, chainsaws, backpack blowers, weeders, trimmers, and things like that are more, it's 129. This is what it is. You know, that's the price.
Okay. Okay.
So it's a blend. There are some dealerships that'll do it, specifically for, like I said, lower priced items, whereas others do it for higher price items.
Right. Hmm.
You got to experiment, and there's nothing wrong with that. I do urge dealerships to try that and see what is the response. Does it increase your phone call traffic, decrease it? Emails go up, emails go down. Consumers don't want to play negotiation games. They generally want to know,
Right.
hey, what is this going to cost me and how soon can I get it?
Well, and you kind of you guessed my next question. How do you the test and experiment? Um, so how does a dealer set up a test
Mhm.
of language on a website or call to action buttons or that kind of thing? Talk a little bit of how they can set up a test,
Mhm.
monitor results, and then make a change.
Yeah. So with our website platform, that sort of setup is completely customizable. So you could change everything on the back end to be call for price and leave it up and see what happens for a month. And if it doesn't work, go in and make the change on the back end and change price books, turn them on, turn them off, add rebates, don't add rebates, etc. That's the one advantage we've got, is that level of customization within the back end of the website as a whole.
And how do they test it? I mean, right? You've got
Sure.
to you got to be scientific about this. So how does that
So,
how does that happen?
yeah. So what I mean by that is if you make the change and you try something, make note of it. Write down the day and track it, and maybe in an Excel spreadsheet, and list the model and see how many emails did you get on that model, and mark, a couple columns, maybe put phone, email, or text message or chat, website chat, etc., and just mark them and see, and spend 30 days and kind of develop and build some data. I'm kind of an analytical nerd like that, where
Yeah.
I like to see results, and you can guess all you want and get close, but
Right.
when you put pen to paper, or numbers to a spreadsheet, it's quantifiable. It's there. You can't argue it.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of, and maybe the whole point of a digital environment, because it's
Right.
it's happening now, and so you can do testing now, but
Yeah.
you've got to be consistent with the testing and
Yes. Yep.
understand the impact of it all. I
Hmm.
want to get to Chase Blackburn asked a question back
Hmm.
to the kind of the process. Are there
Hmm.
are there typical holdups? Are there things that slow down implementation of your e-commerce system, and what kind of obstacles do dealers hit, or do you guys hit?
So, one of the things that will slow down a website going live, once again, is meeting availability and getting together, and then making sure that everybody's on the same page with what needs to be designed out and or what it should look like. 9 out of 10 times we can make minor tweaks, send them back via email, and have a lot of those conversations via email. But scheduling time is always key to that. We start with a 1 hour consultation. When the dealership signs up, we sit down for an hour and figure out, okay, what is it that you would like it to look like? And we have countless examples that we'll send across, and layouts that are proven, that will show, okay, how do we want to do this? Equipment on the right, equipment in a page view, navigation on the left, things of that nature, so that these layouts and what we're developing and customizing makes sense. That's the biggest thing. We've all seen, a website that was difficult to navigate, or wasn't clear, or had colors on top of colors that didn't line up, or were hard to read, things of that nature. That can be a real turnoff now. People will
Yeah.
take one look at a website and go, no, next, and they'll go to the next best looking one.
Mhm.
So,
Um, who do you generally work with? Is it the owner? Is it the sales manager? How do you recommend dealers
mhm.
work with you guys? Who is it in the store?
I'm a big proponent of a couple people being involved. Number one, the person that's going to be, in charge and running it and or oversee it. But then most importantly, all of the other key decision makers that are involved with it. Sometimes it is only one person that sets everything up and goes through that process. I think more ideas create a more collaborative environment versus one person steering the ship saying this is how it's going to be and this is the only way it's going to be. Um, I feel like if you get more voices involved, you get more ideas, more opinions, and then it's a happy medium. So we work with as many people at that dealership that we would need to in order to get the result. So if it means 4 to 5 people, we'll work with 4 to 5 people. If it means only working with one person, then we'll work with just one person.
Hmm.
We make it extremely flexible so that we're putting the right people in the right room.
Okay. Okay. Um, there are all sorts of you have all sorts of competitors in the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they're kind of non-specific competitors,
Mm-hmm.
Shopify or WooCommerce.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about the differences that you guys provide compared to some of those generic retail
Sure.
e-retailers.
Right. And And the big thing with that is, and I can't stress this enough, is our relationships with the OEMs. The brochure data being correct and accurate, the pictures, that's the thing. That's one of the biggest things. But then also on the co-op side, the OEM specific banners that need to be up on a website that we build out and can provide and have been providing, so that fall promotions, spring, summer promotions, etc., are meeting the co-op eligible requirement, but are also meeting the OEM standard as well. The OEMs have a specific feel and they have a specific idea and concept of how a site should look. And a lot of the other one size fits all website providers, they don't have that. So if you have a platform that isn't designed for the outdoor power equipment industry as a whole, it's going to be tough to give it the correct look and feel. And that's really key, I feel.
Yeah. How about updates? Is your system updates when it has to? It's version this, point that. You talk
Mm-hmm.
about how updates happen.
Yeah. So updates are done internally by our product team, and our product team roadmaps those out. And they listen to the dealerships and get the feedback of what new features and benefits need to be developed and or what's already in the queue to get released. And then we then go through and we release those updates, and we make a lot of changes and adjustments. I call them under the hood, that you don't see visually on the outside looking in on the website when you're utilizing it, but on the back end, when you're updating things, changing things, uploading brochures, things of that nature, we make it so that it's an easier, better way to do it within the actual website platform itself. So we make adjustments and enhancements, and then we do a product release on them, but we do them internally, and we'll do them as often as we need to. We don't set, okay, we're only going to do 5 updates this year, that's it. We'll do as many as we need to, or whatever the market is telling us we need to do to move the needle.
Right. And they're generally, these updates are automatic. It's not like
Correct.
my iPhone, all that I have to update all
Yep.
the time. Or
Yep. Nope. Correct. Yeah. There's no push notification or settings error that's going to come up and circle a number 1 under the icon telling you, hey, you got to press update here. We do them automatically. And sometimes it's funny, we'll do updates. We'll have somebody call and go, what'd you guys change? This looks different. This is easier to use. And yeah, we took care of that last night.
Right. Okay. Well, great. Gosh, so much info. It's such a interesting time with technology right now.
It is.
Anything from mobile optimization to the way search is changing to the way, no, anyway, there's the AI thing is just blowing my mind. It's nearly impossible to keep up with it. So it's good to have reputable connections, good relationships with a company like Dealer Spike to keep your dealership in the know on this stuff, because you've got your own expertise, you've got your own area of focus. So great to have George, an expert like George, and the team that he works with to help dealers. It's crucial right now. It's so important. So really appreciate everybody who attended, taking the time to be here. This was, I think, a great use of my time. I don't even own a dealership, and there was so much good info shared. Thanks for the questions. Yeah, wonderful to connect with dealers and have these kind of discussions. And please, everybody, reach out to Dealer Spike for answers from their experts. They know this industry so well. They know the manufacturers, they know the parts suppliers, and they're doing their best all the time to keep your info up to date so that you can run business efficiently. Thanks for spending part of your day with us.
Yeah.
Really appreciate the time you've taken, and I hope to see you guys soon. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks. Bye.